A controversial arrest made at the Jefferson County Courthouse has made its way to federal court. The case has already led to the retirement of one sheriff's deputy and the suspension of another. They are accused of lying in their statements about the arrest of Steve Hartman, a process server who was accused of disrupting court proceedings when he went to serve Judge Lane Walker with a lawsuit. The arrest led to charges against Hartman and the suspension of his state licenses. 12 News HD anchor Angel San Juan joins us in studio with new developments in the case. Angel.
Jackie, we have breaking news on the story. Based on these documents obtained by 12 News today, the Texas Department of Public Safety has reinstated Hartman's licenses. This is the investigative report done by the sheriff's office that led to disciplinary action against the arresting deputies. Also helping Hartman's case was a pin camera that he had on him. It recorded the incident. Now Hartman is seeking another recording that he hopes will clear his name further. First, there was this video showing the arrest of Steve Hartman. What was captured on a pin camera contradicted what Sergeant Steve Broussard and Deputy Tony Barker claimed had happened. The video alone led to disciplinary actions against Broussard and Barker as a result of an internal investigation. This week, 12 News HD obtained that investigative report. We already knew that Broussard had taken the pin camera home and downloaded it before submitting it into evidence. But from this report, we now know that Broussard was not the only one to see this video before it was put into evidence. Broussard told investigators that his immediate supervisor, Captain Steve Carr, watched the video in the office of Judge Lane Walker's court reporter, Summer Tanner. He says Tanner and Walker's court coordinator, Ann Landry, were both present. Neither woman had a comment when contacted by 12 News. There's another recording of the May 28th incident in addition to this video that's now in demand. Hartman is suing the county in federal court, and he wants the audio tape and transcripts recorded by the court reporter, Summer Tanner.
In this insider-exclusive investigative TV special, our news team goes behind the headlines in Justice in America, Steve Hartman's story, to examine how John Morgan at John S. Morgan Law Firm is trying to get justice not only for his client Steve Hartman, but also for himself. On the border of Louisiana, but thoroughly Texan, Beaumont, Texas embraces both brisket and crawfish, a mix of Texas swagger and Cajun rhythm. Oil was discovered at nearby Spindletop on January 10, 1901. Spindletop became the first major American oil field and one of the largest in American history. Beaumont is proud of its vibrant past and is eager to preserve it. From monuments to museums to resplendent historic homes and churches, the area is filled with sights to satisfy the curiosity of history buffs and spark imagination about life in earlier times. But every town has its past as well as its future, and the Insider Exclusive is on location right here in Beaumont to investigate Steve Hartman's controversial case and all the speculation and accusations surrounding it. We'll do that with first-hand, in-depth interviews of not only Steve's lawyer, John Morgan, examining his legal strategies in this case, but also with Steve and his wife, Tara, whose courage and faith demonstrate the dauntlessness of the human spirit. This case is one of those David versus Goliath stories about trial lawyers like John Morgan who guide clients through the legal maze they face in extreme life-altering adversities. As they promote justice and fairness for injured persons, safeguard victims' rights, and provide the opportunity to help guide the hands of justice, especially when people's lives have been destroyed, families ruined, dreams lost, or widespread societal change and reform are needed. John has earned the highest respect from citizens and lawyers alike as one of the best trial lawyers in Beaumont, in Texas, and in the nation. His goals, not only to get justice for his clients, but to make sure all Americans have the right to a fair trial, honest cops, impartial prosecutors, and fair judges with no agendas, because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. This is the Insider Exclusive, live from Beaumont, Texas. It is my great pleasure to introduce John Morgan to the show. Welcome to the show, John.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Tell our audience a little bit about the type of law you practice.
Well, I am a civil trial attorney. I also do some criminal defense work. I'm licensed in both Texas and Louisiana, and I maintain a very broad docket of cases, mostly representing individuals as opposed to corporate interests.
The little guy, is that right?
That's been described as that, yes.
You know, anybody could be a corporate lawyer. They could represent companies, right? Trying to squash the little guy. They could represent GM, you know, against some guy family's been killed. Why do you represent the underdog?
It's always been a passion of mine. Ever since law school, I have seen the practice of law as a way of righting wrongs and balancing the scales of justice. And I know that's somewhat idealistic, but yet, to me, that's what gets me excited about coming back to work the next day, knowing that I'm trying to actually help somebody, an individual, a real person with a problem.
Today we're here specifically in Beaumont, Texas, because you are representing a real underdog by the name of Steve Hartman. Who is Steve Hartman?
Steve Hartman is a client I represent. He is a civil process server, and he was arrested wrongfully by a judge who's no longer on the bench, Judge Lane Walker. He is currently facing criminal charges based upon knowingly perjured evidence and witness tampering and destruction of evidence, falsified criminal charges, and I'm also representing him in a civil rights lawsuit stemming out of these occurrences.
And the civil rights lawsuit is filed against who?
Civil rights lawsuit is actually filed so far against 25 defendants.
Right.
I sued the judge, who's Judge Lane Walker. Again, he's no longer on the bench, so he's currently Lane Walker.
Yeah. He stepped down from the bench, is that it?
Well, there is a Texas Judicial Commission. The rumor is that there was a confidential plea agreement that he was permitted to resign in lieu of being forced removal.
Right.
However, those documents I cannot obtain, so I cannot substantiate that.
Can anybody obtain them?
I believe they're all confidential.
How long did he spend in jail, by the way, when the judge arrested him for that?
He's
trying to do his job.
Trying to do his job. He spent the whole day. They put him in jail, if I recall correctly, about 9:30.
Yeah.
And they kept him handcuffed with his hands behind his back all the way until approximately 6 o'clock, when they transferred him from the holding cell to the Jefferson County Jail, and that's when they took the handcuffs off of him.
Now, criminal charges are still pending against him, correct?
That is correct.
And yet, he has been cleared in terms of civil case, hasn't he?
Well, Judge Walker and the court coordinator filed multiple grievances against his professional licenses.
Yeah.
He's a process server. He's a certified bodyguard, licensed bodyguard.
Yeah.
They try to take away his concealed handgun license. All of those, his licenses were suspended, but they were reinstated.
And they were reinstated, why?
Because the various boards saw the evidence on his recording pen that showed he did nothing wrong, and then they compared it to all the falsified affidavits that Judge Walker had, the sheriff's deputies, and
that were
attorneys.
in the courtroom at the time.
Yes.
Okay, and why would you think that all of these employees, they were employees of the court, and they were working in Judge Lane Walker's courtroom, why do you think they would lie and file these false affidavits?
Well, they were more than just his employees. His employees did file false affidavits and perjured affidavits, no question. And certainly because they work for him and that's their job.
Yeah.
Now you
Well,
also...
it's not their job to lie.
Well, certainly not, but that's what they did.
Yeah. Now, a special prosecutor is still in existence today, appointed to prosecute Steve.
Correct.
What's the status of that case?
Okay, he's actually, the legal title is Attorney Pro Tem.
Yeah.
He
And appointed by who?
Well, he was appointed by Judge Lupe Flores out of the county court. He's a friend of Judge Walker's, to prosecute Mr. Hartman for disturbing an official proceeding by noise. That's the charge. We have determined...
Is there such a law on the books?
There is.
Yeah.
There is, but the recording pen evidence shows that Mr. Hartman didn't do it.
Yeah. Now let me ask you this. Is a process server allowed to go into a courtroom, which has proceedings going on, to serve a judge?
Well, certainly.
He can't interrupt. Can he interrupt what's going on?
No. What Mr. Hartman did is the exact procedure. A courtroom is a public place. It actually belongs to the citizens of Jefferson County. Okay. It doesn't belong to the judge. The judge just presides. Mr. Hartman went up to the bar area and asked the Sheriff Deputy Lewis, Sharon Lewis, if he could serve Judge Walker during a break. He whispers that, and that's clearly what you can hear on the tape. And the reason Mr. Hartman chose to do that is when he served a record subpoena upon Judge Walker at his house, Judge Walker brandished a gun, and his son actually chest bumped Mr. Hartman. So Mr. Hartman decided to go to a public place to serve the federal summons because he thought it would be safer that way.
Right. Now, both of his cases are still pending, correct?
That is correct.
And when are you expecting to go to trial?
Well, we have filed a motion to dismiss the criminal case because we've determined that the special prosecutor, Mr. Alford, does not have legal authority to prosecute it. So at this time, Mr. Hartman is being prosecuted illegally.
Do you think you will get a fair hearing here in this city?
Well, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
Okay. I believe if I had to try the criminal case, we would win in front of a jury because the evidence supporting the prosecution is all perjured and falsified.
And documented.
And documented.
Right.
It's clearly perjury, repeatedly. Even one of the arresting officers, Barker, recanted before the Internal Affairs Division of the Sheriff's Department and said, guess what?
Yeah.
Mr. Hartman didn't do anything wrong.
And I understand that one of the deputies that was in the courtroom was forced to resign, right?
Officer Broussard.
Yeah.
Sheriff's Officer
As a result of his perjury, correct?
That is correct. Falsified.
And who forced
arrest
him to
reports.
resign?
He was given an ultimatum. Actually, Sheriff Woods,
Yeah.
I'm going to correct myself, Sheriff Woods recommended him for termination, and instead the board of the Sheriff's Department let him resign in lieu of termination.
Yeah. Okay, fortunately we have with us today both Steve and his wife Tara, and we're going to bring them on right now so they can tell their own personal story. So let's do that. It is my great pleasure to introduce Steve and Tara Hartman. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you.
Tell our audience a little bit. We know all about this ordeal that you went through and being arrested and you know, having your license basically suspended, and you can't bring in money, you can't take care of your family. Do you work?
Not anymore, no,
Okay,
sir.
so how was this whole experience from both your viewpoints? You had your reputation on the line, and your license had been reinstated, right?
Yes, sir.
But criminal charges are still pending.
Correct.
Even with the evidence that the civil boards reviewed and said, hey, you didn't do anything wrong, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so what's your thoughts on this?
I just don't see how somebody that governs me can say one thing and then I guess judges and folks here in town can say another and say, well, we're not going to drop anything.
You went to his house to serve him, correct?
Correct.
And what happened there?
Our typical protocol is if you work somewhere and that's where they say to serve you, that's where we go.
Right.
We got to try it the first place we can. Went there to his office, met with his staff. They turned me away, said they weren't going to accept the service and that he wasn't there.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. They directed me to the district attorney's office that I needed to serve the district attorney, stating that I couldn't serve a judge directly. Well, a judge is no different than anybody else.
Right.
So with that in mind, I know what my job is. I was told to get it out as quickly as I could. I know from previous dealings with him where he does reside and his home is located.
Yeah.
I decided to go out there around 7 in the afternoon. It's still light outside, giving them time to relax and get home. Vehicle was there, knocked on the door, heard some noise behind me. Was somebody looking out the window, and I actually heard them verbally say, Dad, someone's at the door. So that let me know he was already home. When I'm guessing one of his children opened up that door, they stated he wasn't there, although you could actually see him hiding in the hallway. And when he walked out from that hallway, he was brandishing a weapon.
He was brandishing, he had a gun.
He had a firearm in his hand.
What did he have, a rifle, a revolver?
He had a semi-automatic handgun.
And he pointed it at you?
No, he didn't point it at me.
Yeah.
He kept it in a safe direction the entire time.
We've talked to him?
Yes, sir. I've talked to him. I've identified him. I know who he is.
Yeah.
Just drop it and leave.
So you did?
Yes.
Okay.
I started to, until lights started coming on outside. All three males from inside, being the judge and his two sons, approached me again. And of course, I turned around to see what was going on. And they took and started making a big commotion outside.
So did you drop the paperwork?
Yes, I did drop the paperwork.
Okay.
They
So
picked it back up.
You served him?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And they continue to make a commotion.
Commotion meaning what?
Just shouting nasty words.
Okay, so you leave. You leave, right?
I was leaving until they started coming towards me more.
Yeah. So my question is, you have technically served him, haven't you?
I have.
So why did you go to the courtroom later to serve him again?
He was, from what I'm to understand, from not answering the first one, a federal summons came out for him to answer to.
So this is a second summons?
Correct.
Okay.
And this was about 3 weeks later.
So you're in the courtroom serving the second summons.
Yes, sir.
And you follow procedure, right?
Follow procedure.
You end up getting arrested.
Yes, sir.
How soon thereafter did you have your license revoked, suspended,
The
whatever?
very next day,
Yeah.
we got notice from the Texas Department of Public Safety that they were filing stuff
Yeah.
with them and some of our trade organizations as well.
So you come home from work and you're there and you say, how was your day, honey, right? And he say, what'd you say? Not too good.
Well, she had gotten a call.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
I had
You
been
got a
arrested.
call from you?
No, from his boss.
Yeah.
Because
Philip Klein?
Yes, sir. Because at
Yeah.
the time I worked night. I called him back,
Yeah.
and he said that he was okay. There was just
Yeah.
a situation, and he
Right.
told me that he had gotten arrested.
Yeah.
And I was upset. I was
Yeah.
crying and worried because the last time I saw him was
Yeah.
at 7 o'clock that morning.
Yeah. So then he got out of jail. Now,
Yeah.
hey, he's got his license back, doesn't he? What else? You're suing many people who have conspired to basically ruin your reputation. What would you like to see done?
I would like to see them answer for what they've done.
Yeah.
I want the people to lose their jobs.
Yeah.
Because we've gone through a lot.
Right.
And I don't know,
They can't get away with it, right?
no, they don't need to get away with
Yeah.
it. No,
Okay.
I don't
Shouldn't be allowed
want
to.
I don't want this to happen
Okay.
to somebody else.
Okay, good. Fortunately, we have with us a witness that was in the courtroom, Carolyn Wiedenfeld, and we're going to bring her on right now. It is my great pleasure to introduce Carolyn Wiedenfeld. Welcome to the show, Carolyn.
Thank you.
I understand you were there when all this commotion happened that day, right?
I was there.
What'd you see?
The first thing that I remember, I was sitting in the jury box with a client, and the first thing that I heard was the judge saying, "Arrest him," and he was looking back toward my left, and so I naturally looked to my left, and then I heard Mr. Hartman saying, you can't arrest me. I'm a process server. I'm a federal process server, and I didn't do anything wrong. Something to that effect.
Yeah.
And they started cuffing him.
What kind of light can you shed on Steve Hartman's case, other than you saw the skirmish happen in the courtroom?
Well, I saw it happen, and then that was bad enough because he hadn't done anything wrong.
Yeah.
But then there was a cover-up, and
Cover up meaning what?
well, after they arrested him, then they had to figure out what they arrested him for.
Right.
And then they got people to sign affidavits saying what they saw happen.
These are
and
court officers. These are
well,
sheriffs.
just people who were in the court. Some
Right.
of them happened to be attorneys, and some of them were county employees. Some of them may have just been somebody's mama or something.
And
Although
they-
I don't think there were any like that.
And I understand that all these affidavits were false.
No, I'm not going to say they were all false,
Okay.
but some of them certainly were very imaginative. They didn't resemble what I saw at all, really. But no, they weren't all false.
Now, you are no stranger to the courtroom, because obviously you're an attorney also, right? This kind of behavior, this type of conduct is rather unusual in the judicial system, isn't it?
Well, I'm not sure that it's unusual, but it's unusual that it's actually been brought to light like this.
Yeah.
I've never seen this type of, signing affidavits or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I think that sometimes judges may abuse their power.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to thank you very much for being on the show. You've added a lot of value here so people can understand what's really going on here. Let me ask you this question. How do you get a lot of calls, a lot of people contact you regarding cases and representation, but how do you really select the cases that you want and the people that you want to represent?
Generally, it takes several steps. First, usually there is a phone conversation where I pre-screen the case to see if it's possible that I can help that person.
Right.
Assuming I'm qualified as an attorney and there's a remedy that I can get them. Many people, I tell them I can't help, or I refer them to other attorneys. I set up a meeting, and in the process of meeting with the potential client, I evaluate the client. I listen to the client. I decide whether or not I believe what the client is stating. I decide whether or not a jury would believe them. And frankly, if I feel that I can help somebody and they need help, and I can provide that remedy as a civil trial attorney, I will take the case. Mm-hmm. And when I take a case, it's my policy that I do not quit. I will carry it through. I'm happy to try the case, and I'm one of the most active trial attorneys because I want to present my clients in court and hopefully give them their day to have their justice.
Yeah, that's good to hear, and that's what clients want to hear. And we wish you a lot of success with this Steve Hartman case, and I want to thank you very much for spending time with us.
I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at insiderexclusive.com.